Before we get into the video, I've got to tell you about the OneFootball app. If you're a fan of football at all, then this app is a must. You can get specific content for whichever team you support, including short videos, score updates and news. Also, you can keep an eye on players you love from across the globe to see how they're doing. It's been a great help for researching players as OneFootball cares about both the modern and retro game. Make sure to download it using the link in the description below and start keeping up with your favoured club and players on a whole different level. For many decades, Manchester United have towered over the English Premier League as one of the most successful and prestigious sporting institutions in the world. Boasting the most top-flight titles in British history, they have held the status of a powerhouse for over half a century, since the days of the Busby Babes and the Holy Trinity. The flame of the Red Devils has only grown as the 20th century bled into the 21st, skippered by Sir Alex Ferguson, who steered the club into and throughout their greatest period. Producing exceptional homegrown talents who went on to become club legends, and creating some of the game's most iconic moments, United's success is still very much in living memory. However, across the last decade, the mighty Mancunians have endured a mighty downfall, from which they haven't managed to recover, and if anything, it seems to be getting worse. Once the dominant force in England, forever in the running for the title, Manchester United have now become the laughingstock of the league. But how did it happen? As the 21st century got underway, the Reds had just concluded the millennium with a historic triumph, bringing the European Cup back to Manchester after 31 years by miraculously overcoming Bayern Munich to tie for treble that no other British team has ever accomplished. Now with a young but established foundation, Ferguson could strengthen his squad and retain these honours for years to come. A third successive championship was lifted in 2001, and the additions of Ruud van Nistelrooy and Rio Ferdinand stabilised the starting 11, aiding them to the top spot again 2 years later. That summer of 2003 saw the Golden Boy of Manchester break up that illustrious four-man midfield as David Beckham went on to wear number 23 for Real Madrid. Yet again, the Scotsman proved his ability to aptly replace the departed, welcoming Cristiano Ronaldo to Old Trafford within merely a month of Beckham's transfer. After a needed habituating period, the eccentric Portuguese winger gradually became a sensation and played a vital part in their FA Cup final victory over Millwall.
Manchester United FA Cup winners for the 11th time.
The young Evertonian Wayne Rooney was also added to their books in August 2004, making an instant impact. It seemed as if anyone of any age could step into the United dressing room and grow 2 inches as a footballer because of the strong leading personalities like Roy Keane and Gary Neville. Zero tolerance for indifference, they were an extension of Ferguson's arm, caring hugely for the reputation of Man United and prepared to give the hairdryer treatment to anyone who acted improperly. The Scottish coach was famously strict, but a very effective man manager who knew the ins and outs of every one of his players, what they were good at, what they were bad at, what drove them and what hindered them. Between 2006 and 2009, Ferguson's side again achieved a hat-trick of Premier League titles, and in 2008 pipped Chelsea for the Big Ears, cementing their 2007-08 European double winning team as one of the best in English history. Ronaldo, Rooney and Tevez worked perfectly in tandem to lead the lines, tearing apart defences and showing no mercy, while Rio and Vidic kept all in line, combining the pace and grace of the Englishman with the power and bravery of the Serbian. Head to toe, the 11 was stacked with world-class stars, and the Red Devils had salvaged the crown that had been lost to Arsenal and Chelsea throughout the 2000s. Even when Ronaldo left for La Liga in 2009, Sir Alex had established such a robust unit that the success continued into the upcoming decade. Barcelona stood in the way of United's European dominance, overwhelming them in the 2009 and 11 UCL finals. Yet Ferguson's purchase of Dimitar Berbatov, Javier Hernandez and Nani to reinforce their weakened offence won them a record-breaking 19th top-flight trophy in 2011. The retirement of Neville, Scholes, Giggs and Van der Sar hinted at the inevitable end to a glorious era, culminating in an unprecedented 20th title in 2013, boosted by another bolstering transfer in Robin van Persie, whose link-up with the number 10 made them landslide victors. At 71, Sir Alex Ferguson announced his retirement that May, after 26.5 years in charge. Widely regarded as the finest ever British coach, he is the longest serving manager of any English club and holds the record for accumulating the most trophies in the sport's history with 38. Worry flooded half of Manchester when David Moyes was chosen to step in for the Great Scot, and from the opening of his first season in charge, the cracks began to show. The importance of a manager had been slightly understated in British football up to this point. As much as their tactics, they have an ideology that the team has to buy into, and Ferguson created an invincible feeling throughout his tenure that even if they slip at times, Manchester United will manage to endure and recover their grip. The Reds had never finished outside the top 3 European spots since 1991 and lifted the top-flight title 13 times since Ferguson's appointment. Moyes' first campaign proved the influence of Sir Alex, as he was unable to fill the legend's shoes, and as the results progressively worsened, the players and supporters turned on their new coach, who the club ultimately fired prior to the completion of his debut season at Old Trafford. The dressing room had been lost, and there was a dark cloud over the famous stadium, having plunged to a 7th place finish, their lowest in 24 years. Hope was reignited when the experienced name of Louis van Gaal was unveiled as the man to guide the club to their resurgence. However, defensively, they had suffered some major blows to the old guard, bidding farewell to Ferdinand, Vidic and Evra, for which Van Gaal and his staff failed to find suitable replacements. Over £90 million was spent in the 2014 summer window, and though an improvement, 4th place wasn't what the demanding fans were looking for, and an even worse finish the next year sealed the Dutchman's fate. The likes of Angel Di Maria, Radamel Falcao, Memphis Depay and Anthony Martial were all underwhelming, and it seemed as if the magic that turned promising signings into club icons came exclusively from the wand of Ferguson. For a fan base accustomed to seeing their team lift Premier League silverware almost every year, a Community Shield and FA Cup across 3 seasons with barely any time in Europe was unsatisfactory, and the board searched for a winner to coach Man United. They nabbed Jose Mourinho from Chelsea in the summer of 2015, with whom came the club's most expensive ever signing, as well as Zlatan Ibrahimovic, again raising eyebrows in United's favour. Many reminisce on the Portuguese manager's stint with little fondness, despite his first year in the north, when he recovered the winning feeling that had been missing at Old Trafford by adding 3 trophies to the cabinet. With the exception of a runners-up league finish in 2018, Mourinho's remaining 18 months in the role was filled to the brim with complaining, excuse-making, and the veil was completely lifted on the behind-the-scenes changing room disputes. Club hero Ole Gunnar Solskjær stepped in as caretaker from December and earned the permanent position which he held into the 2019-20 campaign. Under the Norwegian, United's fortunes didn't improve. Despite the heavy investment into the squad, the Reds failed to truly challenge for the title, while their European form also left a lot to be desired. By November 2021, the long-awaited departure of Solskjær came, and Ralf Rangnick filled in as interim to see out the season, which was another year indistinguishable from any other since 2013. Still rife with internal battles, clear divisions and cliques have come between the impermanent German and his squad, resulting in a fall in form which has left fans in a state of bewildered hopelessness. The sad new reality for the Red Army is to be encouraged in the summer by a new signing or managerial change until the campaign commences and the once dazzling light at the end of the tunnel progressively dims. It's entirely fair to say that Manchester United undoubtedly have maintained their prestige as a money-making enterprise with a global reach, but have forfeited their claim as a great football team and European heavyweight. There are multiple reasons for the downfall of Man United and why they haven't bounced back. Firstly, the Glazers' ownership takeover in 2005. Malcolm Glazer, with his sons Avram and Joel, bought the majority stakes in the club using an intermediary investment company with a £550 million leveraged buyout, not their own money. The American businessmen have been drawing around £60 million annually of interest payments as the deal involved acquiring funds against the club's assets. In addition to these interest payments, United have incurred over £1 billion of various expenses, making them the biggest spenders in the Premier League. 10% of the club's shares were listed for public purchase, however this was a facade, as the Glazers are the sole recipients of the dividends, and therefore retain the power. Supporters and Class A shareholders have their hands tied with no say in the running of the club, prompting fan outrage. The reaction was bad to begin with and has escalated to the point where Glazers out is a regular banner and chant at Old Trafford, demanding change, whether that be selling the club or changing the ownership rules. Many believe this is the way to rescue Man United, as removing the Americans means reducing their debts, a strong first step on their journey back to the top. Secondly, their transfer policy. It has been very messy since 2013, spending more than £1 billion on players in under a decade, with very little return on their investment from a silverware standpoint. On this long receipt includes Di Maria, Falcao, Martial, Pogba, Lukaku, Sanchez, Harry Maguire, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Edison Cavani, Van de Beek, and most recently Cristiano Ronaldo have all disappointed. Once able to attract some of the biggest names and win the race for exciting prospects, United haven't taken advantage of their worldwide esteem, settling for older strikers who are past their best and overpaying for underproved defenders. All in the aforementioned list have failed to consistently give their best in the north, and most of those who have moved away rediscover the form that earned them the big money Manchester move, hinting that the club make it difficult for players to settle. Furthermore, when it comes to retaining teammates, United have a flawed approach, letting players run down their contracts to leave for free, while handing lucrative long-term contracts to rotation players. After Wayne Rooney's 2017 Everton homecoming, they haven't handed the armband to anyone for longer than a season until now. The often mocked Harry Maguire was signed for £80 million in 2019, to this day the most expensive ever Premier League defender, and he was made captain in his second season. More so than his on-pitch mistakes, his leadership skills haven't been effective since 2020, and isn't an exacting presence like Keane or Neville to keep all in line, an old-fashioned characteristic missing from the modern game. The scent of apathy that surrounds the club needs to be wafted away by some leading figures to drive the team in the darker moments and set the standard for the younger players. Compared to currently dominant clubs who were previously below them, the Red Devils have gone nowhere but down. The pair of these rivals barely ever make a transfer misstep, carefully choosing the ideal manpower for the system of their respective trusted managers, Jurgen Klopp of the Reds and Pep Guardiola for City. both of whom have effectively developed and instilled a philosophy and winning style in the 6 years since their selection. In contrast, as of 2022, United are about to appoint their 5th permanent head coach in the 9 years since Moyes. Each of these managers have had distinctive tactical techniques and standards, but haven't lasted in the role for long enough, so as soon as the squad gets acclimated, a new way gets forced on them, throwing the dressing room into disarray while their competition strengthens. Under Sir Alex, they were serial winners, yet post-Ferguson they have only won 4 notable trophies, slipping to second best in the Manchester rankings, while the Sky Blues are leading the charge for their 5th Premier League title since 2013. Whether Manchester United's fall from grace is due to their owners, their transfers or their management, it's undeniable that a serious shift is needed. Should they rid of the Glazers and follow in the footsteps of City and PSG by welcoming Middle Eastern investors, the Red Devils' financial state could be steadied, allowing them to satisfy the contractual demands of their key stars, as well as rebuild their squad with younger talent for longer-term success. These kinds of struggles have been seen across Europe with some of the largest clubs who have hit a rut and battled to claw their way back. Approaching a decade since the legend bid goodbye, Man U have been lacklustre now for long enough, and the cries for a change are now louder than ever before. And with the recent announcement of Ajax's Erik ten Hag as their new manager, a change is coming, but whether it's worthwhile is yet to be seen.